I have not heard from Rebecca.
Okay, so if you get started, you won't have a physical forum present, which means you can just talk about stuff, you can open the meeting and start to discuss items we can't take.
I need a physical form, not that.
Yeah, no,
It
you need
doesn't
a
work.
physical forum present, which
Okay.
would be free, so you need people present to take action. Otherwise, you can discuss things, but you wouldn't be able to actually take an action.
The only thing that's actionable on here is the approval of recap.
Yeah.
So if you can do that. Let's get over that.
We can wait for a physical forum to be present.
Yeah, no worries about that.
But the rest of it, I mean, you can open the meeting and continue the rest of it.
Oh, if you have, well, I'll take one.
That's what you're going to get through. Hey Rebecca, how are you?
How's it going?
Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
No, you're doing just fine. Cliff is gonna be 15 minutes late, but you just made our quorum, so
Okay, perfect.
we should be fine. As soon as Leslie gets back, we can get started.
Evening.
Can enter that for the records. Nice scratch.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
Enter that for the
notes
records.
that when you're looking through the database and just so I don't forget, if I don't write something down, you know what? let me look this up. Lest I look more organized than I really. Sure. Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, this is the garage. Okay, great.
Garage, yeah.
Sorry.
But it was the first one I've actually parked.
No worries.
Yeah, it's gonna be right across the street.
Not for me, actually. I come the other way.
Oh, you
So I have
got
to go,
that's
I have to
right.
go
You're
around.
coming. That's cool. You may be walking, right?
It's never cool enough to walk in the street.
Yeah, you're right. It's never.
I'll walk down here.
And
Fun.
if it is cool enough, then you get rained on.
That's
It's like,
that's true too. All right. I will call the meeting to order if everyone's ready. Right. Do you want to go over any of the recap at all before we approve it, or that recap is just our minutes from last time?
It's the recap from last meeting. Any questions or any corrections, happy to entertain them. I usually would go through them. It's just there for your information.
Okay.
If you'd like to proceed, we'll be happy to.
Motion just to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Yeah, I thought it looked all right. I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We don't have anybody on Zoom, right?
There we go.
All right, so minutes are approved. Then I'll go into the recap of the on-site visit. Who wants to, Brandon, are you taking over the?
Yeah, I'll start. Okay.
Okay.
It's real time then. I was gonna say, I just read, yeah, it is real time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, just wanted to give you an overview of the visit during those 2 days by the Florida DOGE team on August 11th, 12th. There was a memorandum that was sent by the county administrator to the board, which was also sent to you to inform you of what had happened in kind of a 1,000-foot level. Jake, Bob, and Amanda all came and offered greetings to the audit team. Hey, Ms. Curry. Good morning.
Hey, Cliff. I tried to hold off long enough for you.
At a 15-minute hearing lasted 45, so.
We just got started, so no problem.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Curry, as I was just starting to talk about just a bit of a recap of the Florida DOGE team's visit on site on August 11th, 12th. As I was saying, Jake, Robert, and Amanda were here to offer greetings, and then we all departed at the audit team's request. They spent the better part of the day in this room alone, going through materials that were provided to them in advance of their arrival. There was information gathering was led by Debbie Benavidez. It was extensive. It took the better part of a week and lots of staff pulling that data together for them. In addition, Ramin's team brought in 11 computer terminals where they could access financial systems they were requesting. And so when we left, they were very quiet and went about their business. They started then to request additional bits of information. Within your packet is that information as well, the additional on-site requests that they had made those 2 days. We endeavored to return that information as fast as possible to them so they could work on it. And they concluded their day around 5 o'clock and returned the next morning. And at that time asked for on-site interviews of various county staff. And that list is topics and then staff that were responsive. So on page 2 of that on-site additional request form, there were 10 sets of interviews conducted. Staff were all on site. Meetings, the interviews were conducted next door in the employee break room. We commandeered it, and we kept sending information back to them via email and answering questions as they came. They departed around 4:45 on Tuesday, and we have not received any further feedback from them. As we had been informed through various channels, we expect there to be a report issued on their findings. And so we're in standby mode awaiting that report or any additional questions they might have. We fed all the additional requests that were done on site into your SharePoint site. So you have everything that they have. In addition to the memo I just outlined and the additional on-site requests that were made, you're fully up to speed on where they're at. We thought the engagement was positive, professional. They were very courteous. And, I think from our perspective, it went smooth. And there were no follow-ups requesting additional information while they were here outside of the list of things that they needed. The interviews were professionally done and satisfactory. So with that, Mr. Chairman and members, that's just my brief synopsis. I would defer to Tom and Ramin if they have any further comments.
No, I think that's something
That's a good summary.
Yeah, they were appreciative of the fact that they had full access to the back end of the systems and the data, as well as functional support. Because once you get into the system is one thing, but really maneuvering finding your way around the data sets. So we have actually people come in and sit with us and walk them through it. So there's some kind words around that access.
Did, was there any themes or anything of what they, who they brought in for questioning and what they got out of it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Summarize.
Well, Mr. Chairman and members, if you turn to the packet, there's a list of the interviews. So they wanted to have interviews based on topics. And they asked us to provide the appropriate staffing to who would come in and provide feedback on that information. So as you'll see here, they started with utilities. George Cassidy, who's an assistant county administrator over that function, came in and provided those answers and responses. Real estate and facilities, Greg Horwedel, the deputy county administrator, who has that in his portfolio, along with John Mueller, who is our director of real estate and facilities. Library services, Greg Horwedel, again, deputy county administrator with that in his portfolio, along with Shelley Cantrell and Julio Granada, were here. They're the current leadership over at library services that are transitioning to a new director. They had questions on sponsorships and grants management. There are a number of people involved there, including assistant county administrators, the budget director, department directors, to provide that information. Information on community development block grants, that's CDBG. Folks provided the information on that. There was questions about the county's minority business enterprise and small business enterprise programs. Ron Barton, who is assistant county administrator, and Teresa Kempa, who's responsible for execution of those department or those functions. There were questions about Arts Council grants. So there's an Arts Council within the organization. And so there were questions related to their programs. Diversity Advisory Council, which is a volunteer board appointed by the Lord County Commissioners that was created by the board a number of years ago. Cheryl Howes, the assistant county administrator, with oversight of that team. Wesley Hughes and Ellie Rodriguez are the staff administrators on that committee. There were questions about the county's contract lobbying contracts. So myself and Cameron Pennant participated in that interview. And then finally, there was discussion on the county's culture, questions about does the county have programming that's preferential to a particular group in order to be considered for a job or to be considered for a promotion? Are there mandatory cultural programming that employees are required to participate in? Those kind of issues. And so the interview started around 9 o'clock. We got the list from them around 8:30 of who they'd like to talk to. So we had folks queued up and ready to go at their discretion. And so they conducted interviews. They would step out, come back in and continue their work and continue having the additional data requests. I'd say probably half of them were on Thursday or Monday and half of them were on Tuesday. And so that's really how it went. Again, there was no definitive what next steps were. So we're in standby mode, awaiting further direction from them.
What was the format of these things? They seem to be short-term notice. Was there somebody transcribing there? Did the participants get an early list of questions so they could prepare, or was it ad hoc and just off the cuff?
Off the cuff. So we didn't know until that morning who they wanted to talk to, and they were adding to it that day. So for example, I can speak to the county lobbying contracts.
Yeah.
I found out somewhere around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they wanted to discuss that. So Cameron and I came downstairs and had the discussion. So there was no advance notice. There were no advance questions. There was no advance preparation, either available or even necessary. We went in and answered their question.
It was usually 2, 3, 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then, and it was anywhere from, I don't know, 1 or 2 of us to 10 of us. And, yeah.
So it was a subset of the team, 3 or 4. Okay.
It depended. So for the contract one that I was in, there were 3 people that came from this room into that room. Some others, there were more. Some others, there was just 1. It just varied depending on who was in that subject area.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And they probably have subgroups of specialty.
And we didn't know what groups they were working on. In fact, we weren't provided a list of who the auditors were. We knew who the lead folks were, and we didn't probe into that. We simply were informed that this was the group, and we responded to the request as quickly as possible.
Are the people here who they interviewed, are they the most likely, likely suspects, not suspect, bad word choice, people to talk to within this area of expertise, like George Cassidy is the guy to go to for utilities. And if he isn't the guy, he's got somebody in his group say, okay, talk to John Smith. Would that be an appropriate format? I'm just
Yes. So
concerned about double.
we're looking for the
doing the
most
same
knowledgeable
thing that we-
person because, again, they need data. They need to understand context of it. So the person who's the director or the assistant county administrator or the executive team member is going to be the person who has that broadest field of vision. So the executive team folks were part of the discussion of, who were the right people to respond and be part of those discussions. So again, it really wasn't an issue. We were able to accommodate their requests, in those interviews quickly. There was no delay.
Anybody else have any questions on interviews or recap?
Reference the council, can I ask if those are actual state employees or if those are community volunteers like us?
Talking about members of the Diversity Advisory Council.
Yes.
Those are citizens, volunteers who apply to serve, and they're selected by the Board of County Commissioners broadly. There are some boards and councils where commissioners have individual selections based on their district, and there are others that the entire board votes upon, like you were all voted upon. This is a committee that are all voted upon.
What did they say? Did they give any indication of next steps or what their path is?
They were leaving to go back. Some were returning. I think others were going to other places, but they did not disclose what was the next step. We were simply told, thank you. And again, courteous visit. And I guess we're to expect a report in the near future. But so we're on standby for that. And I would expect that report to provide feedback and recommendations. And then we're also on standby if they have any additional questions, data requests, et cetera. We have not received that communication yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing that they told us was basically 60 days. That's kind of what we're waiting for.
See advice.
A report. We don't know if that's a report just for Hillsborough, whether it's a global report. We're not sure.
You could copy us on.
I
I'm
reached
sure.
out
Yeah.
three different people up there, including the one woman who was the head of that committee, and he never got back to me. And then the others were trying to push, and I never got anything. But I was trying to get something before this meeting, as 30 days, but I got nothing.
So it hasn't been 60 days. So.
Yeah.
And it is Labor Day weekend too, I gotta say.
Well, it was before Labor Day.
People were out. Okay, well,
Yeah.
good job. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure what Jake's thinking about is it might be good for us to connect with them or at least see their work product. One is they've done it before.
They'll get
And
it as
so
soon as we get it.
We'd probably be interested in some of the same things. And also, it'd be good for us to not have to tie up, like, I hate to use poor George Cassidy as the example, but
Go ahead, use it.
if 2 or 3 of us want to talk to him and now he's already talked to the state guys, if we can benefit from what they've already done and then go from there if necessary, I'm sure we're all sensitive about tying you guys up as minimally as possible, especially with the same issues, but 60 days. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully we have something by next meeting. That'd be nice. Try to continue. If I hear anything else, I'll let you know.
And these were the only areas that they had interviews.
Correct. Now, the request for data was in that original letter that's provided to you prior to for the first organizational meeting. So they have an extensive library of data that they requested and received.
Yeah.
So when they're on site, they requested additional data pieces and then conducted these interviews. So what they may have other questions in the future. We don't know. We're in a waiting mode now.
They have any audit procedures documents, for lack of a better term, that they were following, or it was pretty much ad hoc?
Not that was shared with us. They may have had a procedure, but it wasn't shared with us. We were simply told to provide the data, provide the follow-up data, and be available for the interviews and make them accessible into our financial systems, which we did. And
And procurement and contracts.
all those pieces, everything was available to
We
them.
provided full access to all of that.
Jake, it occurs to me that we might want to, if there is such a document, since they've done it before, and we'll tell them, look, we're certainly in an allied position here, but it'd be wonderful to have that just to avoid duplication.
I would love anything. I've tried.
And
I've
they
tried
have a
to
bunch
not-
of worker bees, And
Yeah.
I see a few worker bees at this table, but maybe not so many as they have certainly.
Yeah. And I've tried not to, I don't want to duplicate efforts, but if we're not going to get anything from them, I don't want to sit around and twiddle our thumbs.
Yeah.
So that's why I've kind of come up with the list for today to go over, and we can go through that. And
Good.
if anybody else has other things that they've went through and seen in the grants list and all that, then we can talk about it then.
You reached out directly to CFO?
Not this time. I went through a bunch of other intermediaries because I didn't want to bother him for a couple of weeks, but the last time I talked with him, I really haven't gotten much. But I talked to him right after the first one of these meetings. I didn't get a whole lot of info either. So,
And recall too, that they have a mandate to meet for producing a report to the governor, the legislature, I think January 13th, if I'm not mistaken. So they're moving quickly, trying to conduct these audits and get that report put together. So just context.
anything else on the recap? Anyone? Anything else? All right. Well, I'll move on from the recap. I don't think there's any motions to be made there. So I would like to just continue on right now, going through what we have in our, I don't have any AI tools to use. I don't have an extensive staff or anything to go through, but just eyeballing through the grants. I went through them all and just looked over the names and what they are and everything. And so I gave you guys all this DOGE notes, like, just color coded things I have questions about, things that kind of just stood out, popped out to me. And if anybody else on the committee here has anything else that stood out and popped out to them, I just kind of wanted to use this time while we have all of the staff here. Maybe can't answer every question that we have, but there's a bunch of things that I'm like, just want to answer some questions and try to understand, like, what the explanation is from the county on how, some of it, how things work, and some of it is kind of like, what we're doing.
Right. And so what I did, Jake, I saw your list.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I kind of took that and I kind of categorized things.
Okay.
I took everything on there and just put it in a category.
Okay.
Tried to, so that I could maybe explain to you, if you'd like to go that direction, I can pass out what I did.
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
And then we can discuss it and, whatever questions you have.
Has anybody else on the committee picked anything out that's not on this list that they saw that they wanted to ask questions about while we have everybody?
Looks very good.
Yeah, actually, you did a more thorough job. I have on this note paper here. I have a few things that caught my eye on the.
Yeah.
I get a copy for her. I'll take the copy. Just getting them. Do you need it? Is it a good one?
Yeah, great start. I do see a couple things that got my attention as well.
So Jake, however you want to do it, I could, if you would like me to, I can just kind of go through or however you like to proceed.
I'll let you start us out with what you saw and any of the explanation you want to go over with us.
Sure. So what I did is I took what you had sent over and I looked at various, like, how could I categorize this such that we could come to the meeting today and just have a general explanation of what these things are, and how they fit into county operations. So the first group there you can see is called the Film Commission and Incentives. So it would identify the number of awards that had been made for various film productions within Hillsborough County. So just generally, the commissioners have, I guess, a local film commission that we support. And so the first amount there, that $472,000, is the amount that we currently provide to them on an annual basis for general operating activities. And then below that are all the individual films that have been supported.
Yeah.
When there's a film that's going to be supported, there's an item that comes back to our board, and our board approves every one of these on their consent agenda.
The county commission board.
So the county commissioners actually voted on each one of these things to give them money.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know how, while we're going to go over some of these things, I'll try to get some input from you guys on the committee to see if this is something we want to kind of put into a section of recommendations of, let's take a look at what we're spending on. And then some of these things, let's throw them in another category of, okay, well, that makes sense. Let's not bother that one. And let's try and do that. And so, I mean, for me, at least, I look at these films and I'm like, all of these companies aren't even based in Hillsborough County. They just happen to film in Hillsborough County, I guess, at some point. Some of them definitely have interesting themes, I will say. So I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but like, I think this, the film commission, something that maybe we need to recommend to the committee. I'm actually surprised that the commissioners actually voted on each one of these individually instead of just giving them a block amount of money.
When they went to the commission to vote on these films, because I can understand, you look at what Atlanta's done. Hey, let's make films here instead of having every film made in LA. And they've met with some success, and why don't we do that? I can understand that. Did they get a package which is, well, there's going to be shooting for X number of days, and this ought to bring revenue and employ 30 people in Tampa? Is there a package, an approval package like that goes to the commission, or is it just?
There's a set of criteria that our economic development department, the film commission will submit to us, and the economic development department will review it. And then when the agenda item goes to the board, it goes with a certain backup that justifies the award amount. I'll be honest, I'd have to go back and look at those individually to see exactly what's provided. I'm not sure. Maybe to add a little bit of
I'd be interested to see just one or two for the format.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about that as to what that.
I actually went online to try to find how you submit for one of these grants, and I couldn't find it. Like
I was looking in that contracts.
I'll put together a documentary about me flying around the world. One of these things, like the guy's like flying around the world and he's like documenting it. It has nothing to do with Hillsborough County at all.
Well, maybe to add a little bit of context to that. And so it's about economic development. So from the board standpoint, so the budget on an annual basis, like for fiscal year 25, is like $1.2 million in total. Part of that is the operating piece, and then the rest of it is our incentives. 86% of that budget this year is funded by tourist development taxes. So it's the 6% tax on room stays within the area. So typically that would be you'd say how many heads and beds, we call it heads and beds, do you get in order to justify the awards that we get here? So based on the film production, how much activity from an economic standpoint is going to be generated by filling up hotels within the area and that type of thing, and food and beverage and that. So about 86% of the budget is funded with tourist development taxes, and 14% is through general fund currently.
Okay. I'm curious of the format, because a lot of it's got to be subjective, and the idea of cultivating a film industry here, hey, that's a great idea. But when I'm just interested in how, this one of these gets $500,000 and the other one gets $10,000, and it's, how do they determine the appropriate amounts? Or, and I don't necessarily want to second guess. It could be a good subjective decision. I'm curious about what basis they had to, approve or recommend.
Yeah, I'm here to second guess some of these. I think.
I'm not saying I won't. I'm just saying at this point I don't want. But
I think the film. I'm just going to kind of move just so
we have a little to go on just by these titles.
I looked them all up. They were interesting. But I think just so that everybody's aware, like this is something that I want to take a look at from.
Chairman, members, I could also just kind of. We're providing some high level context here.
Yeah.
We need to be cautious too. The mandate of the committee is to liaise with staff to respond to the state.
Yeah.
So we also need to be cautious about not getting ahead of the state's response to this.
Yeah.
And then what level then does what is the role at that point of the committee in responding to the state, or if there was a request from the state to do that, and then what does that look like to the commission? Because the commission didn't put together a DOGE committee to DOGE the organization. The state's already doing that. So I think we just need to proceed cautiously. Happy to provide information, of course, but if we go too far, then the committee could be perceived as doging board, and that's not what has been mandated.
Sure.
So just a word of caution.
Yeah, I think I still want to try to just like categorize these things for myself and for the committee, so I can kind of see. I mean, looking at the state documents, there's overlap obviously in what we're looking at and what I saw and what they saw. There's certain things that they have questions about too. So I don't think we're getting too ahead of ourselves, without we're not going to publish a,
Understood.
you know,
Putting that
something
word
that says,
out there, just making sure we stay consistent with the board's direction.
Mhm.
That's all.
I guess I wasn't absolutely clear on the direction. I wasn't aware that the committee was established specifically for the DOGE inspection. I didn't know that those two were synonymous together.
Yeah,
Not that
so
this was,
the motion by the board was to create this committee to act in an advisory role to the board and the county administrator in its participation with the state DOGE team. So, hence providing the information and no problem asking questions, just urging caution if we're going to go start where you're wishing to go auditing the organization, that's a discussion with the board. Happy to provide the information. That's not a problem. Just clarifying that's what the board authorized. And we'll do whatever the board says. That's not an issue. Just putting that out there.
I think, you know, looking forward with this, let's hope that they get some sort of report to us in the next 30 days or so. And then from there, we'll see kind of more what our role can be. And then, you know, I have no problem going to our commissioners here and saying, let us take a shot at it too, because they kind of, you know.
And I feel like they're probably, like you said, they're probably going together. They probably looked at these things. I can't imagine that they did not.
Mhm.
And I think the simple answer is return on investment. Okay. Did it boost the economy? Was there funding generated? I mean, I think those are easily provable factors that could justify the existence or non-existence.
So, okay, I just want to continue down the list that I have going on, and we don't have to take, I don't want to be here for 4 hours or anything going through everything.
We're here for you.
But I just have, like I said, just questions through some of these different ones. I kind of understand. Does anybody else have any questions before we move on a little bit for Tom, or on how any of these different types of funding work, the nonprofit versus eligibility, any of that other stuff, or I can just start kind of going down the list.
Yeah, actually, this is good to work from.
Okay.
It's more thorough than my scratch list there, so.
Okay. I'm just going to
There's some overlap, I would say.
All right, I'm just gonna go over some of the other ones and ask some questions, and anybody who has any answers, let me know, and maybe we don't have any answers. There's 2 oral surgeons that made $7 million last year. Do we have any idea, like, do they run a company or that like looks over the county's health plan or
I
something?
looked at that. So,
Okay.
so I guess the first thing there is it's part of our indigent healthcare plan. So there's the local sales surtax. That's a 0.5% sales tax in
Mhm.
Hillsborough County for our indigent healthcare plan, would provide services to probably 15 to 20,000 indigent individuals. So one of the services that's provided is dental services. I went back and looked at that and was able to find a procurement item. So there was a competitive RFP that was done for that. And there was an award made to two, as you stated, 2 oral surgeons. It looked like there were 2. I kind of looked at it a little bit. Looked like there were 2 organizations that basically looked like one of them did kind of the general dentistry and the other one was like the oral surgeon. They kind of worked together under one umbrella. I think it was Dental Services of Tampa Bay, Dental Walk-in Clinics of Tampa Bay or something. So they did have multiple dentists within their practice, but that was a competitively bid award. It was a 4-year contract, and I think it was for around $8 million.
Was there like an hourly rate on that? I mean, I'm thinking here, but
That was part of when I looked at the backup. They've got a whole schedule of
procedures.
procedures and
They have
documents.
a number of patients treated. Be interesting to see over
Yeah.
3 or 5 year averages, the
Yeah.
number of patients treated and versus the cost. And
Yeah.
I on not this, but in a related thing, I tried to dig around and I was lost in the database.
And
At least at
also,
this
are
point.
they Hillsborough County citizens? Like, are they residents of this county as have been verified?
The participants in the indigent healthcare plan are residents of Hillsborough
And
County.
they're verifying that.
They're verified. Yes, they're documented. I did ask that question of the department. So
I'm just curious. I think there's probably still some more questions on that contract. I just,
Yeah.
myself, but
And here's the thing, maybe to build on what
Yeah.
you've got is on contracts like this, or in general, not necessarily just fit. What's really helpful to see is a pattern over 3 or 4 years if the contract's been renewed on an annual basis. And some kind of measure of services provided, like number of patients seen, or what would really be interesting to me is, and I just got lost trying to figure this stuff out, is the percent of a services contract, which goes to salary and wage versus actual spending on, fluoride.
I think we'd have to
dental,
go dig into the,
whatever.
we'd have to dig into the contract specifically on each one and that we got like,
Yeah, but there's
30,000 lines
that
of.
contracts database is pretty big.
Yeah.
I just can't figure out. I mean, it's like they get oriented to that because I think some of that is probably already there. But
I'm sure there's copies. I think there's certain contracts that we want to look at, like,
right.
I'm sure we could
The
ask.
department gets invoices, and so it would document what services are provided, I'm sure, and it was, the number of clients and, yeah.
If anybody on the committee wants to kind of keep a list running, if they have any, if there's any certain contracts or anything you guys want to look, ask more
Sure.
questions, then just
All right.
just keep a list running.
Let's keep going, but that's good on the.
Higher marketing, $175,000, and it just said tables, and then 84,000 for stickers, and that was very basic. So I was questioning, like, are we setting up like big events or something, or is this just like, do we rent the furniture in the building?
That one I haven't dug into yet. I'm not sure what that is.
Down here, fire marketing, $175,000.
Number 3 under contracts on the.
Oh, it's on the other sheet. If you look up the larger sheet.
Jake, I think Debbie has an answer to that.
I did research the table one.
Yeah.
It's for maybe a new park that's getting built or replacement tables at an existing park. And they've only used it a couple times for some replacement tables.
Okay.
Or actually for, I think, a new park. And then the stickers are for when a hauler comes to a residence and they cannot pick up the bin because it's in the wrong location or something's wrong with it. It's a sticker to explain to the property owner what was wrong so that it alleviates them calling back to solid waste and them having to do the research. So they put the sticker right on the can.
We do a lot of those.
So
We have about 300,000 residential customers that we pick up from.
Yeah. Seemed expensive for me.
So we're not buying tables, it's trash handling for tables.
The stickers.
Stickers.
I was so there was a
Oh.
contract for stickers for solid waste, and those are the stickers that they put on bins that they distribute to the different haulers we have if they can't pick it up. I can go back and see how much they
Okay.
actually spent.
Like a
on it.
giant
It
thing
seemed
somebody
like they
puts out in
spent
the
a lot.
trash and
Okay.
the regular guys can't do it. So they say, look, you have to take this to the solid
Or
waste. dump.
maybe your bin wasn't in the right place that they could use their equipment to pick it up.
And so their tables are like for a park that they're like installing into the
Place.
ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if they're installed or like inside in an area, but it's all sorts of different
Okay.
line items on that contract. The description says that, but we've also uploaded all of the actual contracts in the SharePoint site.
Oh, the entire, like,
Yeah, and if you pull that one up, it'll list all these.
I can go dig into them.
I gotta do that after this.
Yes.
That would be great. I'd
Yeah.
love to, because I tried to do that and I think I got way off.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll keep moving. So 26 million in miscellaneous stormwater. There was 12 companies with $2 million and 8 million spread to 4 companies on another miscellaneous engineering. So I'm guessing that we give them some sort of budget to work with, but like, what's the oversight on that?
Yeah, so on some of these with the miscellaneous contracts, what we'll do is we'll go out, we'll do an RFP, and we'll know we'll have certain services that we want provided. And so instead of putting an RFP out there where we give all the services to one vendor, we'll go out there on some of these miscellaneous contracts and we'll have an amount that we know of service that we want to provide that it's going to cost us to do X, whether it's replacing culverts or whatever. And then we'll go out and do a miscellaneous contract and we'll say we're going to hire 10 different firms. And then we'll put them in like I don't know, I didn't get to give the department on specific, like a rotation, so to speak. So it'll say each of these companies has up to $2 million worth of services that they can provide underneath their contract. And then they'll be assigned work orders in order to go out and do the work. And they'll just continue to do the work until they reach the limit of their contract. But we want to have like a number of vendors in these cases that are available to do the work, instead of just going to necessarily one or two vendors, let's say.
Sure. So what, I guess, when that kind of stuff happens, like is there just work orders put in and then we see like an hourly rate? Or like, what's the oversight on like when we have like 10 miscellaneous contracts like that?
We have contract managers that work with those. And when they are going through the RFP process, they'll identify what the pricing is. And then that'll, be billed based on that.
So yeah, I understand. Like, do you feel like that's best practice? Just genuine question. Like, do you think that's best practices, like to do it that way, like 10 companies? And
I think the department feels like in a case like that,
Yeah.
they have, the more vendors you have, the more flexibility you have to make sure the work gets done. I think in some cases it could be geographic, and in other cases it's just wanting to make sure that could be an economic thing with the community, wanting to get more vendors involved. And again, just providing flexibility also, so that if you have a vendor that, let's say, if you have a vendor that doesn't perform, instead of having to go back and terminate that contract and do another contract, you've got a stable of vendors, and you can, in some cases, say this one's going to get less because the other ones are performing and these are not.
Imagine that it's better to have, these things might come in clumps, like there's a big storm and you need 6 of them in various regional areas. It's possible.
And this might be a case also where it's like, if you have a larger project, we might go out and just do an RFP for that one particular project and hire one company.
Yeah.
This is more like routine type work that's done
Yeah.
throughout the year.
Yeah, I was reading this as like down branches and leaves clog drainage, and somebody's got to go in and just kind of muck it out type thing, but maybe not heavy construction of new. Is this more of a maintenance? I would consider this maybe, at least the way I read it, non-discretionary maintenance type thing, or is it capital changes to drainage systems?
Or it could be smaller type capital projects. Yes, either maintenance or smaller type capital projects. Yeah. But more routine work.
Yeah.
Instead of one-offs. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on some of the miscellaneous categories? That just stands out to me when it says miscellaneous. Like, what's our oversight process on there?
Yeah, we have contract managers. Yeah, and it goes through a competitive RFP process.
Okay.
Yep.
So this one, I just saw this. Like, we've paid $10,000 twice to the Wall Street Journal for subscriptions.
I looked at that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those did get my attention. I dug in a little bit deeper. So that one is actually a subscription that it is a $10,000 a year subscription to the Wall Street Journal. It's for the libraries.
Yeah.
So it makes the Wall Street Journal available to citizens through each of the
How
libraries.
about all the regional libraries?
For all the libraries.
Wouldn't it be in the library budget then, or is it?
This covers the library.
Okay, all right.
Like, for this one specifically, then we pay $50,000 for something called Press Reader, which covers Wall Street Journal again. So that's one of the like recurring themes that I see. And I think this is just probably because I don't know if anyone's ever taken the time, but like some of our software that I think we pay for overlaps another piece of software like this, and like a subscription service. And we pay for the Wall Street Journal twice. Press Reader Inc. And all the libraries cover it for $50,000 a year. That's like all of the newspapers and whatever else. And then we're paying Wall Street Journal separately. So
I'd be interested on those issues. How many people are actually accessing it? What's the ability for citizens to actually access it without being in the libraries?
Was the Wall Street Journal the lowest bidder?
Yeah. I can say, when I go to the South Shore Regional Library periodically, there is a hard copy of the Wall Street Journal there. I imagine you can get it online. I know they also have Value Line Investment Survey, a number of those sort of
You
things.
get it online for
But
$100.
do you have a treasurer's department in you're the financial CFO, or, because I know we got this AAA credit rating, I've noticed, and there must be somebody. Is there a treasurer's department that does do?
We've got underneath the county administrator organization, we've got the management and budget department, which reports to me. And so we go through the annual budget process every year. And then we also work closely with our clerk of the circuit court. They provide like the treasury type function. So they're the ones that are over the county's investments, and they do all the accounting.
Clerk of the court is the treasurer then, really?
In the state of Florida,
Statutory.
by
okay.
statute, some clerks of the court are also the comptrollers of that county. The 13th Judicial Circuit, which is Hillsborough County, is one of those. The clerk of the court is the comptroller. The definition of comptroller is in statute. It varies by understanding of folks, but statute is clear about what the comptroller is.
And so there's actually an investment committee that meets periodically. In fact, I went to a meeting last week. I'm on the investment committee. And so that included members of, the clerk of the circuit court staff. And I'm on the committee along with the budget directors on the committee. And so we met last week to go over with a, consultant to review all our investments.
The management of, say, municipal employees' retirement funds or the equivalent of 401ks. That's all through clerk of court as well. The whole treasury function is through the clerk of court.
Right. And so then you've got the state of Florida. We participate in the Florida retirement system. So it's actually the state of Florida. We make contributions to the state of Florida.
They would be local liaison to then it would manage the state level.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Yes, this is broader theme, something I'd like to explore and recommendation for the commission at some point. Like, how do we go about trying to see if there's repeat subscriptions to things? And it's going to come up again in my list somewhere else, but like even other software that, one department uses and then the other department has another RFP, and then like all of a sudden they've got a new one from next year and then it covers something else that we have already.
Yeah, so for large software, it's a great point about the smaller subscriptions. I don't know that.
Yeah.
If necessary, SCI.
Yeah.
What we've done with technology at the enterprise level is it used to be a long time ago where departments were able to buy various technology needs that they had. Our administration and the previous administration, actually, what we've tried to control this is through a technology committee. All the asks have to come up, get approved. There's a strategic business ROI alignment and also a strategic objective alignment. Once it's approved, then it's entered into the procurement system, and then I will see everything. And then we can authorize it at that level. There used to be a time where that visibility just was not there.
Okay.
As we've invested in our ERP system with the workflow system, that's allowed us to control this.
Yeah.
So the larger expenditures are controlled, governed. Actually, there's a governance process. The smaller, it's like this press reader thing I've never heard about. That's something we can certainly look at.
So let me jump then to one of the ones that a little bit like 2.5 million for something called ServiceNow Solutions and 500,000 for Carosoft software, 500,000 for Content Stack. Just eyeballing their websites, it looked possibly repetitive. So, but those types of things.
It might seem to be, but it's a service. So let me take them all. I'm glad you actually highlighted this. ServiceNow is a workflow design platform. Our communications group needed to replace the CRM system. CRM is a citizen relationship management, or in the corporate side is customer relationship management. It's where you all might want to interact with the county. There's a pothole, there's a, as I was driving through, I saw something, you can sort of report those into us. What this thing does at the enterprise level is it is not only it allows the intake, but also this dissemination of the solution out to the department so they can actually get ticketed and then respond to the citizens. So we invested in this for the communications department to answer that sort of need. And then it was realized that it could essentially be extended out to other groups where they have this disparate sort of data systems around work orders. There's work order systems throughout this county. We were talking earlier before the meeting started. This is a small European country when it comes to its size. You just travel back, you travel all around, you travel. So these departments have historically invested, going back to the non-governing days, their own work order systems. What we thought was, what if we standardize on this platform that seemingly is doing a good job with comms, right? Mm-hmm. The IT director at the time made that business case. I supported it. It seems as though it could do that, but we're trying to control it very closely. In fact, Debbie has launched a study into where the framework is around this thing. How do we manage this so it doesn't get extended out to close? So that's what that $2.5 million investment is. The next one might seem related, but it's actually not, because Microsoft, the marketplace on the state term contract where we can procure from. That is actually the text to 911 solution. What we wanted, my background is DCF work. So we've got domestic violence victims, we've got children that unfortunately are trafficked. We have runaways that often find themselves in a situation where they can't call. So we really want to text to 911. 911 coordinator who happens to serve in my portfolio pursued that solution. So he bought it from Carousel on this state term. So it's a procurement vehicle. The third one, the content stack, is the website is hosted. Just the hosting fee.
What, like for like Hillsborough County?
It comes. So we have a bifurcated system where the CIO does not manage the website. The comms people do that. That's their solution, and that's their hosting solution.
How big is our website?
You've seen it,
But like,
it's massive, and it's becoming more and more effective, I think, when it comes to sort of responding to individuals with. They're trying to adjust it to more AI.
do you have a ballpark like pages on our?
I really don't. I can get that for you.
I was just curious. It's not that
But
important. I was just curious.
I know what they do typically is go through stats and see what pages are effective, what pages are hit, what do we sort of bring down, what do we add. The content is provided by the departments, but then it's governed and edited. The final editor in chief, if you will, is the comms people. So not everything that's sent up is posted, but it's still a large website. So we'll get that number.
I'm jumping around a little bit and skipping back to something because I just kind of like noticed that as well. And my world is in communications and media and stuff. So I looked at the communications team. I don't know who the best person to ask about this is, but $5 million in salaries for communication. I'm looking at it and I'm going, what is the county's communicate? Like, is this somebody that's managing their social media and like it help? Like, seems like a lot for once you add up all the subscriptions and everything. Like, what else do they cover besides like social media?
They do what you're discussing, which is web page management, communication management, social media management. They're also communicating out department activities. So 30 some odd departments, things that are public facing, et cetera, news and information. Some of the subscriptions in that realm also cover the closed captioning that's done when there's broadcast of board meetings. All those are closed captioned and provided. So that's part of their subscription services too. They're also essential when it comes to emergency management. They are the primary source of information going out to the public from the county. So during an event, communications staff is fully engaged, pushing out information on an ongoing basis. So it's at least a little bit of context to the stuff they do on a daily basis.
The other thing would be HTV, so the county's TV channel.
The entire TV programming, the board meetings. I gotta tell you, one of the things that really stood out, we have a very close partnership with comms, was during COVID. When we had to get everybody out within a couple of weeks, it really was amazing how we were able to not only just do. If you asked me, I was telling somebody else, Brandon, earlier, in February of 2020, how quickly can you get 5,000 people out and get them working remotely? I tell you, you're just not going to happen. But we did it, and their partnership was very important because of the meetings. I mean, we have elected officials that have to have meetings during this event, this whole entire epidemic, pandemic, and so they're an effective group. Really are.
So HTV is the equivalent of the Florida channel.
Yeah.
Hillsborough County, if you're thinking of what they do, it's nonstop coverage of county meetings. They even cover through contracts meetings of other entities with their staff. And they also go to events, ribbon cuttings or all manner of other things. So again, it's the Florida channel at Hillsborough.
And I see, I mean, like I said, I see a couple of like RFPs around their department, but like, do we contract out anything else on the comm side? Like, or is it all is entirely internal?
They might have a couple of other things. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not
but
entirely sure. We can find
We
out.
can certainly, I mean, obviously it's the SharePoint contract that Dave's going to walk you through, but
They do manage the citizen survey, the annual
Citizen
citizen survey. They do
that's right.
contract out
that's
on
right,
that.
that's a contract, yeah.
But we'd have to get an answer to
The
that.
intranet, the sort of the employee facing pages, that's also, I think, hosted and contracted out. And if I may, while we're on the technology, if that's okay,
Sure.
sort of complete the items. On the e-procurement piece, you're absolutely right, that the procurement software is in fact, what's it called?
Bonfire?
Bonfire, yeah.
But what you're highlighting though, Jay, is the hosting of Bonfire. It's a cloud solution.
Okay.
So it's not a double pay, not buying Bonfire again.
Okay.
You're hosting Bonfire.
Interesting.
Or we're hosting, but they, whomever it is hosting Bonfire.
Interesting. So when you like
It's a web.
purchase Bonfire, it doesn't just,
It's a cloud.
you don't just go on the back of the website and no.
You're showing your age now. Everything's hosted. This is a cloud solution.
Mhm. Okay.
Now, we can get into the business case around whether or not the cloud solution has a ROI.
Yeah.
That's a whole different 2 days worth of conversation we can have offline. But cloud solutions are really where people are investing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Those are good answers. I was just curious to like,
No, that was great that you highlighted those. That's actually made me go look for the 911 text.
well, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better that you said that you have a committee that meets and talks over the subscriptions and everything.
Not the subscriptions necessarily, but I'm gonna have a conversation about subscriptions now.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the press reader thing.
I just look at it the same way that I do with everybody else's subscriptions. Like, after so many months, you go look at your credit card and you got all the subscriptions you didn't realize you had. And I just imagine the government's kind of like that too. I mean, if we're like that, I imagine the government's like that too. Just repetitive subscriptions. I don't know if there's a process that you go through to clean it out and
We are certainly going
see
to
what's duplicate.
subscriptions.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep going down.
Yeah.
So this I just have questions about. $30 million spread across several contracts, HCHCP provisions of hospital services. So trying to understand the medical side of things. There's a lot of money spent in the medical, but I'm trying to understand like.
That's the indigent healthcare plan.
Yeah.
And so that's the indigent healthcare plan that half-cent sales tax generates about $200 million a year to give you kind of a scale on the size of that program. So those services, a lot of those services are provided through local hospitals as well as other local physicians. So we do have contracts with them.
What is the difference between this and Medicaid?
We are required, one of the things that we're required to do is we have about $29 million a year in payments that are due to the Medicaid program. That is funded by the indigent healthcare sales tax. That's part of the indigent program. Is we make a contribution of about $29 million a year.
Is that this contract that we're talking about, or that's different?
No, it's separate.
Okay.
It's separate. These should be contracts with just the local hospitals to provide services. So one of the things that's actually in statute related to the indigent healthcare plan is in statute. So one of the things that we do as part of that is we make a $3.5 million contribution to Tampa General every year because they're the area's level 1 trauma center provide those types of services.
It's required. How are we required? Who requires it?
The state statute requires a $3.5 million payment to Tampa General from us. That's funded with the sales tax. And then in addition to that, with the $200 million that we collect from the sales tax that provides services to I think it's 15,000 to 20,000 indigent individuals in Hillsborough County. the local hospitals, we have contracts with them to provide those services.
And yeah, I guess that's the question I would have is like, how does that work with like the state and federal programs? Like, why is the county on the hook for some of that stuff?
Is there a statute that we can get also? I'd like to see that just for my own edification.
I think it would take us all day to try to understand the healthcare system and how it all works, but
Well, I think there's, part of our mandate is to assist the state in looking at these things.
Yeah.
And it's a complex matter, and it's also a very political matter that we're above that. We're not responsible to voters directly. So I think that's part of something we could really look at, the entire indigent healthcare, the millions and millions of dollars that the county spends there. Is that duplicating state or federal potential services?
Yeah.
Because this is not something that's been in place for 50 years. This came into effect several years ago. In the past, you had the local medical community volunteering in different groups to render the healthcare. Now, those no longer exist because they're not necessary because it's funded by the county.
yeah, I think it's interesting too that you said that like by state statute, we're just required to give them money without like there's no bills or anything. We just write them a check every year. Is that kind of correct?
$3.5 million to Tampa General. The other services that are provided through the program are through just contracts. Yes.
Okay. Is it Tampa General because it's Tampa General or it's like in statute, it says like your level
Level
one?
one trauma center.
Okay.
Has to
The
go to
bottom line is
trauma
Tampa
center.
General has become an indigent healthcare
Yeah.
facility as a result of this money being paid to them. And so you have dozens of people laying in beds in the emergency room in the hallways. I was just there last night. And why is our level one trauma center serving as an entry-level healthcare deal for our indigent people? No reason for the ER to be providing, when they have a headache or a stomach ache or those kind of things. There ought to be centers to do that separate and apart from Tampa General.
I think that's a big conversation to have probably, we try to have that with a lot more people.
Well, I know that's
It's a big
I
thing.
know that's something that the
Yeah.
commission it looks at, and it's a very political thing, because anytime you try to do that.
Actually, I think it was our last board meeting, our commission wanted us to come. We periodically will visit with the board on the indigent healthcare plan. And at the last board meeting, I believe it was, they requested we come back with have a workshop with them on the indigent healthcare program.
Oh, that's good. So they're gonna have a whole
We'll be
workshop.
scheduling a workshop sometime in the next month or two.
Okay.
2-3 months maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just big numbers,
So they're big numbers.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna keep going down. $10 million. There's 4 contracts for the same amount on engineering of transportation services.
Yeah, I don't know specifically which ones those are.
I think this was another one of these like kind of
Miscellaneous.
miscellaneous, like
That
but
could
for spread over the side, like engineering of transportation.
Probably, those are probably miscellaneous contracts again.
Yeah. And so how does that work with like art and we don't have, what other transportation do we have besides buses here? We don't have
Do you think
trains.
this would be streets department or related, or it would
So
likely be
it's
streets department?
It's not hard. Hard
Right.
is a separate
It's not-
agency.
Okay,
They have their own millage that
yeah,
they're separate from us. Having said that, we have a separate bus line, Sunshine Line. That
Yeah.
With a gap filler in some areas.
I think I saw that, but that's a different contract. I didn't put that on there because I read through it and
Right. So we have a department, I think their budget's about 5 million a year. Is that right, Debbie? Something like that.
Yeah.
It's our own bus service that provides services that aren't provided by HART.
yeah, but I know that's like specifically people with disabilities and elderly and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and we actually have some grants that help to fund that also. So the budget might be 5 million, but the general fund piece is going to be something less than that.
Again, the question we have there is, how much is HART funded for those specific items? Are we double?
We'd be serving the areas that HART doesn't. So it wouldn't be a duplication.
I don't think it's, I
HART
think,
serves the entire county.
well, no, this is like, I think the Sunshine Line goes like people's houses directly to like a doctor's office or something if they're, from what I understand, just basically looking at it. I mean, I don't know how you feel.
So your description's correct.
Yeah.
That's what their function is.
So, but like $10 million transfer, that's double what the budget of that sunshine line is. So like what, like transportation services, like what else could it be? Like what else? I mean, like if it just said like miscellaneous engineering of transportation services.
So I can't say specifically. I did not look at that 10 million. I mean, but we do have our public works department. There's actually a couple different departments that make up public works, but the transportation services, I think our operating budget there is probably in the $70 million range in total for just their annual operating budget, not including the funding that we have set aside for capital projects, which is significantly more than that. So if it's in the transportation area, it's taking care of intersections, bridges, road repaving, new roads, street light, or not street, but like I think I said, intersections, sidewalks. It can be all of that.
But this is clearly strictly operating budget, even though engineering seems like it might be a capital project nature, right? The sound of it.
Well, it could be because we do have, they support both capital projects and annual operating type activities. Yes. Right of way maintenance. That's a big one.
Yeah, I'll kind of just leave that one open to see if we can kind of, like I said, I personally have questions when I see like just miscellaneous. I understand kind of the point, but when I start seeing like miscellaneous and then just for contract with a certain amount of money, like
I can show you how to look up individual.
figure out what's in the contract. Yeah.
We can also show you the total budget for each department as well.
Let's do that after the meeting. We dig through all that. How do we do it?
Enormously valuable.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to skip over the stuff with the software because that was good. Those are already kind of covered. 12.5 million on mosquito chemicals. So I have an interest in this because I ended up talking to our chief of mosquitoes last year. I think that's what his title is. But he's not him anymore. What's that? Do we have a new chief mosquito officer? We do have one.
I'm not sure.
We do have one.
All right.
Really? Yeah. Oh, you guys didn't know that?
No, I
didn't. Yeah, we have. I spent an hour on the phone with him. We were talking. This is when we were doing geoengineering the ban or looking over like what chemicals we spray in the air. And so I actually had an hour-long conversation with our mosquito chief of mosquitoes. I think is what his actual title is.
Yeah. Actually, I spent a lot of time with the mosquito fish guys. You know, they will give you mosquito fish, and we have a couple of ponds.
I learned all about it.
Which is probably a good thing.
You got the mosquito fish now.
Yeah.
So seriously,
the
problem is they don't.
Of said fish.
Yeah, they don't apparently work well enough to cover everything. So the 12.5 million on mosquito chemicals. I'm interested in this because again, I had a conversation with him a year ago. I think his email bounced back recently, so I don't know if we've gotten a new person that's in charge of that.
Find out.
But I'd like to put a note down to try to get in contact with them because conversations twofold beyond the price of all of the chemicals they're using for mosquito spraying is that I was told that basically mosquitoes have started to get more immune to the chemicals we're spraying at them. So then we get more and more sprayed out into the air and in the ground and the water and everything. And so there are other organic alternatives out there. And so I wanted to have that discussion. I've actually brought this up to some of our commissioners before too. Like it's like I said, random passion projects of mine because that crossed over with our anti-weather modification stuff this last year. But wanted to throw that out there at you guys. It does a lot for chemicals especially if they're bad chemicals for us. $5,000 diversity leadership training. I think that stuff's gonna come up with from the state too.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I know it's not a lot of money, but it had the word diversity in it. So I think the state's probably gonna.
Yeah, you know what? You would wonder that a school budget is it something extra? Is it something?
I got an explanation on that. I'm trying
Something
to
like,
remember what
this
it
seems
was.
like it's somebody's pet project. It might not be, you know.
It's built into something else, right?
Yeah, it was, I think it was, I'm drawing a blank. So I did receive a high level explanation on that. I think that's housed within our Health and Social Services Department.
It's embedded into something else.
It was a standalone,
Yeah.
line item on the, wherever the,
Yeah.
I was looking through, but
I could, I need to go back and look at my email on that one. I forget what the actual explanation was. I got that late Friday.
okay. I don't know if I need much of an explanation. Like I said, I think that one's gonna,
Yeah.
or diversity in it.
It's something we've been doing since, I think it was 2011.
Okay. I'm trying to understand this. So we pay the city of Tampa and Temple Terrace $240,000 in boat registration fees. Is that a money split situation where we're collecting all the money and then we're giving back to them, or do we pay the city of Tampa?
Correct. So there's Florida statute establishes boat registration fees. And
Okay.
a portion of those fees come down to Hillsborough County.
Okay.
And then, because that's for things like maintenance of channel markers, it's removing derelict vehicles from the waters. It's maintenance of boat ramps, building new boat ramps. And so because both Temple Terrace and the city of Tampa have waterways, we share those funds with them.
So we're basically a pass through.
We're the pass-through.
From a state. Okay. Because I was trying to understand. I'm like, we don't pay a fee to the city of Tampa
No,
for like
no.
a boat ramp
No,
access
it's,
or something?
these are boat registration fees that are in
Gotcha.
Florida statute that come down to us. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So that makes sense. That's what I wanted to understand. $140,000 in LinkedIn learning course softwares. I think that might be a library contract.
It's a library contract, right? Another subscription that's through the libraries that
Yeah.
residents can access various training.
Yeah, I looked at it and they're not even great, to be honest. Suggestions will come from the committee at some point, I guess, but to talk to the library and be like, $140,000.
You're not going to offend us with any.
Yeah.
Your point.
We're here to answer your question.
Our concern would be double counting with the school
Yeah.
system, but so you're saying it's not double counting with the school system. This would be a curriculum decision that the librarians have made.
For a number of months ago, I inquired about LinkedIn Learning for AI for some employees who were interested. I was routed to, I think our staff found out that there was a provision through the libraries. I assumed, based on the question that I had asked, that it was for employees only. That somehow it didn't go through HR, because I was working with HR at the time, but it went through libraries. Because, the first natural place to go is HR for learning solutions. And so we both, HR and I, when we looked into it, it was a library's subscription. Apparently, based on what you're suggesting, I think what's we're learning, this isn't just for employees, it's
for everybody. Yeah.
The residents. Is
Yeah.
It's a curriculum that the library
Provide.
Yeah.
That's what's new to me personally.
Yeah.
And the free would be the library provides it free to patrons, but they pay
Yeah, $140,000 a year seems like a lot. That doesn't seem like good use of money. That's just my opinion.
Depending on what size they sort of talk with LinkedIn about, and if they said we have 1.6 million people that might be interested in you, and that if there is return on that investment,
I'd be curious how many people actually use that, and especially when there's free, like you can go on MIT, Harvard, and go find those courses that you're looking for free. So
Maybe it's 140 because it's Ivy League. We can get the University of Florida version, maybe.
No, the Ivy Leagues do it all for free. No, that's their whole thing. The Ivy Leagues will give all this stuff away for free. All right. I'm going to move on from that. I have questions about some library software.
Yeah.
So 14 million to the Hillsborough County Public Schools for Head Start services. So I'm trying to understand the relationship between us and the school board when we pay for Head Start.
Right. So across most of the state, it's federal grants for Head Start, and across most of the state, it's actually the school districts that run the programs. We're a unique animal. We're one of, maybe are we the only one or one of two or three?
Yeah.
The funds actually come to the county from the federal government for the Head Start program. And then we run some Head Start centers and the school district runs some Head Start centers. So again, we're a pass through on that
Okay.
for some of those dollars. So our annual grant's somewhere between 30 to $40 million, maybe in federal funds. There is a required match. Remember if it's maybe 25%, something like that. So we do match it with some general fund dollars, but the answer is that it's basically a pass through.
So just open-ended question for everybody here. How do we do in comparison to the school board running those types of services? Like, how do we do, like, maybe this is a question for somebody that's in that department or something, but but I'm just curious that, like, you know, my experience with the school board is they don't really know what they're doing in any capacity, and they've got like $4 billion to play with. And, you know, how does the county manage these services versus how the school board manages these services?
I can't really respond to this. We've got our Head Start department that would have to probably answer that question. Yeah.
I also think they need a heavy doging of the school boards. Hopefully they get there from the state. When somebody tells me how they have an extra $2 billion like 4 years ago, and what they've done with it, I'd love to hear it. $350,000 to the Tampa Museum of Art. I know these are like the big things that the commissioners have brought these kind of items up before. You know, they have $25 million the year before from a single donor, but we're giving them $350,000 to the Museum of Art, the commissioner item.
So just generally with the nonprofits under their policy that I think I passed out to you. So we've a couple of years ago, Commissioner Wostel started with a nonprofit policy, and now we've just recently updated it. But county administrator can't make any awards to any nonprofits or change any nonprofit awards. So generally what happens is through our annual budget process, our commissioners will, we call it flag funding for various nonprofits, and then they'll, vote as a whole to approve that funding for the nonprofits. So a lot of in the nonprofit area, what you see here, some of that's one-time funding, some of that's recurring funding. The update to the policy that they just did, they voted to basically phase out the recurring funding to nonprofits over a 4-year period. So actually for this upcoming year that starts on October 1st, nonprofits will be reduced. Generally, not all of them, but the majority of them should be reduced like 25%, next year 50%, and then 75%. And then the recurring funding should be gone. It doesn't mean a commissioner can't, on a continuing go-forward basis, ask for some one-time funding.
And this would be that one-time funding, or this is the part of the recurring that's phasing out over the 4 years?
So some of these are one-time amounts, and some of these are recurring.
Because this might be something we want to.
These are
publicize. I mean, I'm sure
these are big deals.
A commissioner wants the arts in Tampa, and let's at least note it and say, geez, $350,000. I lived in Philadelphia. I was a member of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and it was privately funded. And they do it they'd have a Renoir show, for example, and have a big series of dinners, and they would fundraise around that. And then it was, so I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but it might be.
I think that, this has been a conversation that
could publicize
bigger on the, get some attention to it at some point, but move on from there. We went over the $470,000 for the Hillsborough Film Commission that they have. I have questions still. And then I start going, a bunch of these other ones are $100,000 to the Tampa Bay Black Business Investment Corp, $75,000 to the Men of Vision, Masjid and the SAR, an Islamic nonprofit. So these are all just nonprofits. The choices by the
they're championed by the board.
Yeah, and another one, the NAACP, which is obviously going to be a touchy subject, but they've asked about it as well.
That's been a recurring one for years.
Yeah, but for the record, I don't think we should be funding a political nonprofit that endorses county commission candidates, and they're basically paying for endorsements essentially.
And would probably work for some campaigns, I suspect.
Yeah, and they work for campaign. It just makes no sense to me. Same $100,000 non-competitive bid to the JCC. I think they've got plenty of funding. It's my opinion. I go there. 500,000 to the Strath Center for lighting. So that was a very specific like request. I don't know if they replaced the sign out front and that cost $500,000.
I don't recall what that was. Yeah, for the specifics of that. Yeah.
Just going back to the Tampa Museum of Art and the Stress Center, aren't they self-funded? Don't they have members that
Yes.
contribute and they have fundraising? I've been there a few times to support things and I mean, maybe it's not.
No, look, this is something that's been a conversation amongst, politically with the commissioners and, our circles and stuff that why are we funding these places that have all of these big pieces of funding? And there's the argument of, well, we're funding the arts, but then we give them $500,000 for new lights. I don't, but that's
at least raise it and then the commission wants to do, whatever.
But I think that the overall theme here is kind of continuing on what Commissioner Wastel has been talking about, which is these nonprofit fundings are very questionable.
Yeah, he started pursuing the nonprofits a number of years ago, and that's what resulted in the nonprofit policy, and then been recently updated. Yes.
Okay, this one goes into an actual question for you guys. 61 million went to 23 companies. Same thing, kind of miscellaneous CIP. We know what that stands for.
I wasn't sure where that came from, so I really didn't get into that one. I couldn't figure out where that number came from.
It was, what did I say here? 23 companies. So what's 23 divided by 61? It's like, so you're talking like a 3 million and change or so, around that number, 2.9, whatever it is, for 23 companies for miscellaneous CIP.
Engineering contract, number of years it came up. Don't they have some sort of consortium is my word, but like some sort of grouping of engineering
projects, right?
for construction projects? What is that?
Jake, you were
Yeah, I
looking
was
at
thinking construction in progress. I don't know what.
I'm trying to
CIP
figure
is.
it. Yeah,
Do we know what that acronym? Okay.
But they have, there was some sort of name that they use. Contract.
He's miscellaneous services, maybe. You're looking at specific contracts for construction.
I'm trying to figure out, they might be construction contracts. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Pull those up.
Yeah, I was trying to search for it while I was on here, but I can't seem to pull it up right now. But yeah, it was the same situation we talked about before, where there's just like 23 contracts, all the exact same amount of number on them.
Alliance.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure where that.
I'm trying to find it up, but throw that to you guys. This was very small, but we paid $5,000 in HOA fees.
I did look at that because I was curious.
Yeah. We haven't figured out you figured that out, why we pay HOA fees?
Oh, that had to do with it. It's a small complex where we actually own. Somehow we came to own a number of apartment units or condo units or something. And so the condo units, I guess. And so it's something that's we own those and we have to pay annual HOA fees. It's associated with our affordable housing program. So I don't know specifically how we're using those units now, but it's, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9 units that we owe HOA fees.
Is that neighborhood like a?
That's a one-off. That's kind of just an unusual situation.
It seems unusual, like or is it like a Section 8 type of like community? Like what's how do we come to own them and then we pay for them?
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure when I looked into it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, we own those units, and there's I don't know, there may be 20 units in the whole place, and we own like half of them somehow. But somehow I don't know if they came back to us through like a foreclosure or something like that. So I guess for the time being, are holding on to those for affordable housing type purposes.
Gotcha. So there might be something where we're looking to do a project with that area, affordable housing wise, and that's why we're holding on to them.
It could be.
What's the process? This is my curiosity here. What's the process when that kind of thing happens, where we all of a sudden acquire property? But do we have somebody that's in charge of managing the sale of that?
Our affordable housing department manages that. Yes.
Affordable housing.
So they're the ones that actually, process the annual payments and, they're aware of it, and it's just in their, it's in their kind of toolbox for affordable housing purposes at this point. So, yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna leave it on there, to keep it, keep it going. It seems curiosity. 641,000 to the Red Speed, Florida, the speeding cameras, non-competitive.
It was competitive.
Well, not anymore now, right? Is that?
So it's a red light, that's our red light camera program.
Yeah.
So we have a contractor that we use for that.
Yeah.
Except it's the sheriff that does it. So the sheriff did a competitive process for that. I think they had 3 proposers, and this was the company that won the bid. So we work with the sheriff on the red light camera program.
Yeah.
They have the contract with Red Speed. We will reimburse them for that contract.
Gotcha.
The fees that are collected, or the fines that are collected.
Yeah. So I guess my question as a taxpayer is like, don't they're already taking a cut, right? On every ticket that comes in, are they not? The Red Speed Florida, don't they get a percentage on every ticket that they write?
So I think there may be a fixed piece and a variable piece.
Yeah. To me, it sounds like they would want this contract for free.
For the sheriff, I think we have like maybe 10 intersections where we have red light cameras throughout Hillsborough County. And the sheriff is the one that kind of reviews everybody that runs a light and gets it, before they're fined. A review is done by the sheriff, but this company is the one that, maintains the various intersections and process it. They're somehow involved in the processing of the payments. Yes.
Yeah. I would flag this contract for multiple reasons.
Do we get the proceeds from the tickets or?
Yeah, they're getting proceeds from the tickets, and we pay them on top of it for a contract for them to do it, like for the pleasure of being surveilled, and then I'll get into the whole thing. I no comments on public record.
And tickets are 150 some odd dollars, and then the state takes a piece, and we take a piece, and then a piece goes to pay for this contract. Yeah.
Okay, so that was, this is another one, the procurement software is next one. So we already kind of went over that one. And then, another political activism group, and then nonprofit grants. The first 10 in a row are all the same thing. They're just, I can come out and say if these are payments for activists, commissioners to get to get votes and community behind them.
Right.
Yeah,
and you wonder, so many Greek organizations too, and you think, okay, what exactly, and why do the Zetas get 10,000 and the Gammas get the 100,000? It's, and I tried to look through a few, and it's few things I've come across sounds like motherhood, like nobody could be opposed to this wonderful, and you wonder what actual services are being provided. I'd love to see how much is salaries and how much is project spending on a contract like this. And that maybe we could get into that.
We do and that's what's required by the policy. We don't reimburse like specific expenses like salary.
Right. It's just a contract for
We do
100,000.
our best to work with those organizations to come up with measurable outcomes,
Right.
paid based on the outcomes.
Right.
So we do our best to make sure that we're paying for an actual service, as opposed to just reimbursing for salary or, for their insurance or something like that.
But these would all be
We
lump
used to
sum.
do that years ago. We moved away from that to say, we want to pay for services. We don't want to pay for your specific expenses.
But I'm just saying, if it's to these Gammas, whoever they are, they may be wonderful people. I don't know, but it's 150,000. But if we look at, I'd like to get into the data and see, how much they ought to list, or is the contract just going to be 150,000 for Gammas and it's not?
Bob,
no
they
deal on
did, the states requested additional information on there.
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't look through all the documents immediately, but I can tell you that the state obviously has this stuff on their radar too. I think this is unusual.
Right.
Probably. I mean, maybe it's unusual around the rest of the state.
I will say what we do, I'm not going to defend the nonprofits.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't, get into specifics of why, because again, we are not the ones that are kind of driving those. Having said that, but I also want to make sure that you understand that when they are budgeted to receive funds, they don't also just get a check every October. They actually have to give us monthly invoices that demonstrate that they provided some services.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that information validated though? That's my concern. Like anyone can create an invoice. How are we measuring outcomes?
So we do monitorings on the nonprofits to make sure that what they're providing to us, can be supported.
This has been a bigger issue for the past couple of years. If like you said, it's changed a bit over the past few years with some of the rules that have taken place, but it was not monitored. No offense, but it was not
You're not going to
monitored.
offend us.
But it was not monitored. Like they had no reporting duties. You didn't know what the salaries of the CEOs were of these nonprofits and everything like that. It was really not just kind of these were zero reporting was done by some of these nonprofits for a long time.
Yeah, I suspect that's.
All right, so then I'm just going to move on to some of this.
And one other, this is a silly question, but there's no chance that a University of Tampa or a USF fraternity or sorority actually slipped in here somehow. These are supposed Greek organizations that are social and nonprofit. You don't really know from this.
None of these are like University of Tampa or USF like chapter,
Yeah,
fraternities
right.
or anything like that. These are like the national or local version of the national.
I know it.
What the University of Tampa one on there is a little bit different because that actually went through a county program, which is a historic preservation challenge grant program.
Yeah.
So they made a couple of applications through that program for historic preservation.
Yeah. So still seems to me like they didn't need it compared to other places.
Yeah, we just provide the explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's just when you see a Greek name, you think, oh, gee, it kind of obscures what exactly is being done. The Red Cross, where okay, fine, they're doing blood survey, that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
I always am curious, I'll say, might be the right word, when you see a Greek organization, and I read one or two, and it was such a wonderful description of these services they're being. I thought, I'd like to measure outcomes, and I suspect there's little.
Yeah, like I said, larger conversation I think is being had with the county commissioners, and we can opine on it. I think we all kind of fall in the same place. I'm going to move to this is hospital stuff, so this goes back a little bit back to the conversation we were having before. But 5.4 million to Advent Health, 6 million to TGH, 3.5 million to St. Joe's, and they were all part of the American Rescue Plan. So were we just a pass through for some sort of federal grant on like that type of?
When COVID hit.
Yeah.
So as you know, federal government pushed lots of support out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first tranche of support that we received was through the CARES program. We received about roughly $260 million. And that was followed up with the American Rescue Plan a little bit later on, was another $280 million. And so that was just, those are funds that were just dumped in our lap, paid up front. We were told to go do good things with these, and here are the rules. And so we came up with basically strategic plans for each of those. We went to our board, we got those plans approved, and then we made sure that what we did with all of these types of projects is that when we came up with what we thought was a project that was worthy of consideration, we bring it back to our board in an agenda item, put it on the regular agenda, and the board approved all of the things that you see here. So if it could have been like an Advent Health Award, we would have brought back an agenda item, put it on the regular agenda. So we have to go up and speak to it in front of our board. Or if it was like for the nonprofits, it could have been a program that we did. I know we did a program with local community foundation for nonprofits to assist them in getting services out to the community during COVID. So we would take that program to our board for approving that program. So again, all these would have gone to our board for approval ahead of time. We reached out to our constitutional officers and said, what are your needs related to COVID? So yeah, we had, $600-700 million of funds that were provided by the federal government. And then we had to quickly, figure out how to.
And there's a requirement to like spend it all right within a certain amount of time. Is that correct?
Out of $600 or $700 million that we received here through CARES and the American Rescue Plan, we spent all but I think $10,000. Yeah.
So that those contracts that we're looking at during that time is part of that money. So
Yes.
Okay. So these aren't going to be like
done.
repeating.
Yeah. We may be wrapping up some of those, but for the most part, those are finished.
Okay.
We hope we never receive those funds again.
Okay. Yeah. So the next one, $229 million to the agency for healthcare administration, and it says that it leverages dollars for Medicaid. And I want to kind of understand how that works. What does that mean?
So local hospitals came to us a few years ago and identified this as something where they could leverage additional Medicaid dollars. I think it's Medicaid dollars. And so what basically happens is they come through the local county government and they ask for us to do a special assessment against them. And so all the hospitals in the area had to choose, I think, was it all of them or a certain percentage of them had to choose to participate in this plan?
It was originally all, then it was percentage. So you're correct.
Okay. And so they came to us and said that, we want to participate in this. It helps us leverage additional Medicaid dollars from, I think it's the state of Florida that are passed through from the federal government. And so they assess themselves, they make a payment to us, we send it up to the state, and then the state sends the money back down to them. Correct?
It seems
We are a pass through,
Complicated.
100%
Yes.
pass through. The money comes to us and it goes up to the state.
Byzantine is the word I would use to see the
The law
convoluted
recently was
stuff.
changed in, I think it was the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Yeah.
That froze those rates, prevent the escalation of that matching program. Because that's what all the counties do is send up, receive federal dollars to support Medicaid and off they go. But that's been changed. So I think we'll see a different outcome going forward.
what does that mean? What's the impact?
So their rate was going to be frozen, so you couldn't increase it. So the assessment, let's say the assessment was $10 and the feds gave $10 in match. Year over year, more counties, more communities were doing that because federal dollars were helping us to buy that funding. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act halted that number.
Okay.
So my understanding is that there's no further escalators to that.
But they'd still have the same rate that they had from the years before, and they'd keep doing this. Right?
Conceivably, but I would need to go back and read the act again. There is some change to that process, and you saw a number of counties moving very quickly before that bill was signed because it went into effect immediately to stop that process. So we would need to see what the going forward prognosis is on that process.
Basically, what ARCA does, just from my experience from when I was serving, is that they use the local county dollars to help fund the Medicaid program, because then they go and seek matching dollars.
Yeah, but they're basically just writing up.
So it goes up from the county, the governmental transfers. To ARCA then petitions the feds for matching dollars. Hence the funding of it.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be. I'm assuming it's still going up.
I think I have homework to do on how all of the Medicaid and healthcare stuff works, because it's very complicated to me.
They're very good folks at ARCA that can help you.
Okay. All right. So, but we don't actually spend that money is the answer.
We do not. It's just in and out.
It just helps the state make a business case to the feds. We used to.
It's very strange. But, okay. So then, the last thing I had on my list was $28 million American Rescue Plan spread to the constitutional offices. You guys answered that. Same thing. Just seems like a lot of money. They just rained money on the county, and then we threw it out as fast as possible everywhere we could. Seems like what happened. Does anybody else on the committee? That's the end of my list. Does anybody else on the committee have anything else that they saw, or they want any other clarification on?
I did want to revisit the red light camera.
Mhm.
I was operating under the impression that we were just a pass through for the sheriff's office. They have their own budget, their own oversight. We just give them money. I'm not understanding the relationship on how we're funding something that the sheriff's department is funding.
So it was our board that approved the red light camera program, but you can understand. So it's a thing where they have to be the ones that actually make a determination on whether somebody should receive a ticket.
Right.
So we have to work with them as a partnership. So
They
basically
have to truth up the actual violation. It can't just be a random person. It has to be law.
it has to be law
Under
enforcement.
statute.
So they literally have people.
It's to get the make it constitutional.
Yes.
Because they originally held to be unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And that's how they're doing it, to pass it through the sheriff's office as a law enforcement instead of.
So where the
I
camera
got
funds
your-
come
your
to
hint.
us.
Yeah.
County?
I think that's something we're going to be looking at hard.
The fines are assessed and then a portion stays with us. We pay for the sheriff's expenses related to the program, and then a portion goes up to the state of Florida.
Any other questions? Anybody else has anything else?
Bottom line there is the sheriff doesn't see it necessary to put it in his budget, by it to be in budget.
Anything else, Pat, beyond, anything else before I move into business here? So I'm gonna keep moving down. Were you able to put together the list of the constitutional offices
There's
or and everybody that's not involved in, is that last organization?
that last chart. It's not a great bullet point list. We were trying to move with that org chart of the document with expendency. So these points are highlights in red
Oh,
areas.
I never read the paragraph underneath there that said, look at the red ones. Okay. Yeah.
The red ones are areas that fall under the county administrator, and therefore are things that are being audited by the Florida DOGE team. The other entities are outside of us.
Okay.
And that's the issue we discussed before about the constitutional, and they're outside the scope. At least we're
Where we're at
fishing
right now.
around.
Yeah.
As of right now, clerk of court is outside the scope. Now, another issue, DOGE may come up for that in the future or not, but
It could, and
It's
that's
in
the
red,
state's,
isn't it?
that's the
Yeah.
state's call, but even if they are, we would have no purview over that process because it would be them as a separate constitutional.
so for
officer.
right now, we'll exclude those functions and focus on
Everything in
which is
red
the
is-
utilities, the public services, all, which is what's in the red.
Red.
On that, yeah.
I
I mean, is that right?
think, I think one of the
Just-
things that we should do as a county, like board here is kind of, because people are asking, I don't know how about you guys, but people ask, what about this agency? What about this thing? What about that? We need to kind of put out like, hey, we're not looking at this. And this includes the school board, includes the city of Tampa, includes all these things that the public is confused over, oh, I thought you were looking at
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
And we have to kind of be like, no, we can't see 70% of what you're talking about here because all these other agencies are outside of the county. I think it's important for our board to do that in some capacity to explain to people what we're actually taking a look at here.
Just had a question on this, Brandon. I think everybody understands the sheriff's department, property appraiser, clerk of court. What's the 13th judicial court? Is that a separate?
That's the court. That's the actual.
That's the court system for the county or for this section of the
It's
state?
13th judicial circuit. Florida has 20 judicial circuits. This is 13.
They're on there because there are certain things that we are required to fund for them.
Okay. Because everybody else here is elected. We elect the clerk of court, for example, but did we elect the 13th judicial court?
You elect some
Judge or-
judges.
We elected judges. And then
You did?
Yes, we did.
Okay, they're part of the,
And they
but
elected
there's
the
no
chief judge.
manager for the 13th judicial court, or there is?
The chief judge.
It's-
They have a
Chief,
chief
oh,
judge
they're, okay,
and the manager.
you know,
Court administrator, they're.
Really? Okay. all right. And that would be a county or a state court? That must be
13th Judicial Circuit
of the state of Florida,
of the state of
which is,
Florida
of which.
happens to also be Hillsborough County.
Yes, okay, all right.
The 10th is Hillsborough, Pinellas and Pasco. We have one because we are.
Circuit 6.
All right,
The
I
relationship-
get it now, guys. Sorry, I just could see everybody else was elected. This guy or this isn't, as far as I knew. And I've worked very hard to stay out of court, so I just didn't know.
Just kind of next piece of new business, and I'll move on. I know I mentioned this to commissioners at some point, but put together, and I saw we have comments, so people, I guess, are just calling in and leaving messages, tell us to look at something from what your email said, and then my main question is, have we set up some sort of landing page website where people can report potential things for us to look
So,
at?
good question. Members, in front of you is part of the second attachment to your packet is some communication we received, a couple of emails and a couple of phone calls. So wanted to converse with you all and how you would, for those to be responded to before we took the liberty as staff of responding to them. There is a page for the committee. We can expand that to do what you asked, which is to clarify the role in the areas that you do have involvement in, as opposed to as opposed to constitutionals and others. So we can come up with narrative to inform that. But as far as, these things, again, it goes back to state doing their work, waiting that report, all those kind of good things. So one of these had it requested for the property appraiser and for the tax collector. And one of them was asking for a review of the Hillsborough County healthcare plan. There were 2 phone calls. Leslie has reached out to both of those to find out what their issue was. And I don't think you've heard back yet. So we're waiting to hear back on what those are. So those are the 5 outreaches that I've received my email on this issue. And I don't know if anybody else has received communications from official channels, but this is what I've received and wanted to share with everybody.
Who can I talk to that manages like the website?
Sure.
Is that your team?
No, it was
Is
the
that-
communications.
You can work through us. We can work
Yeah,
on
we can sort that, yeah.
supporting if there's
Okay.
something that you want to do.
I would just like to have a nice, simple page for the committee where people can look at, like it's the chart of what we're looking at, and basically an area for them to leave comment or things for us to look, suggestions for us to look into. And I'd like to publicize that because people just leave Facebook comments on random things. They call you, maybe they'll call another office. Let's give them a single place to put all of their communication.
Right.
Do we need a motion on that at all? Do you need anything like that?
We can boost out.
As far as the different things that they want us to look into, the public concerns, we've talked about some of this, healthcare issues already today. I think we all kind of have some questions on it. One of these is a very long rant about Lennar Homes. I don't know if there's anything for us to do there.
I would suggest some sort of reply back to these folks. Since
Yeah.
We've written, they deserve a reply back.
Sure.
Thanking them for their communication.
And this August 24th.
Yeah, there's should be 3 emails here, and there were 2 phone messages, but they didn't leave specifics. So we're just, my suggestion to the committee, if they would like to, is again, a reply back to these, at least until we stand that up. That says, thanks for sending this in. Appreciate your perspective. It'll be shared with the committee and, kind of see where this goes. Because we also, some of these, as they fall out of your purview,
Yeah.
I don't think the state has established a hotline. I know there have been discussion about that or its own version of that, but it's not standing yet. So I don't want to send them into the nether regions, but I did want to respond back with the committee's.
What I would try to, and maybe, I'll help you craft a message if we need to, but basically what I'd like to say to these people who've reached out is that we're just a local committee right now. The state still hasn't given us a lot of information. We're still waiting on things from the state level. We're taking your, concerns into consideration with the data that's at our disposal, basically.
If you're okay, I'll craft something up and send it to you.
Yeah.
Is that sufficient?
That's fine. Yeah, and then invite them to come to our meetings and let them know when the monthly meetings are, if they want to come in and discuss anything in particular.
Do that.
Anything else for new business? Anybody on the committee have anything they want to go over? So next meeting, last meeting, the first meeting we discussed doing every first Tuesday of the month. Does that still work with everyone on the committee?
Does not work for my schedule.
Yeah.
Trial next.
Set this up on the 7th?
Yeah, so.
What about the 6th or the 8th around them?
This October, we're talking about, or November.
October, yeah.
Sixth one.
But
The 6th works.
The 8th is a board meeting, so we would not be able to support.
So does the 6th work for everybody?
October 6th.
Not that I know.
I mean,
I'm-
do you have a conflict on October 6th, or are you open?
I will definitely.
I think it worked.
Why working as
Yeah, right.
Let's
Are you open? We're okay for the 6th.
Okay.
We'll adjust the website and we'll send out.
So let's aim for the 6th on at 10, like we did today. Same time, same place. And then we don't have anybody on for public comments or anything, right? So no public comment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn unless anybody else. Oh, yes, something.
Actually, maybe I didn't pick it up. Would it be worthwhile to go through a number of these items that we look? And maybe when we have a greater skill after this meeting to pursue contracts, we could take individual assignments to pursue. There's 3 or 4 of these I'd like to go and drill down to a lot more detail.
Yeah.
And maybe we could say generally each pick 3 or 4 or 5, or do you want to do that independently?
I think, yeah, if we want to try to work together and figure out if there's anything that interests you on anything we talked about today and like things you want to go dig into. Debbie, you're gonna help us figure out how to go into the contract so we can really look into it. And then we've got a month. So anything you find on your own, let's bring it to committee. You know, there's no, what I've found so far is that there's no direction for this committee. So we're going to make a direction for the committee. And, you know, to some extent, you know, maybe we'll expand past where we're supposed to be, but that's okay. In my mind, at least.
If I could just make one request, if you want to send the emails out to each other, that's fine. But put everybody on as a blind copy so we don't do a reply all. That's when we get into the tricky side. So if you have information you want to send to the committee, make sure Brandon's on there, I'm on there, but just make the members of the committee blind copied. So that way there can't be a reply all back. That's where you just have to be cognizant not to.
Did I break that rule when I sent over your
It's
document?
okay. We're all good. We're all good. I know it's not the norm. So, I mean, these are kind of footfalls that are not like overtly problematic, but as you get more deep into all of this, I would really suggest that when you send an email out, you just put all of the members of the committee as BCs instead of, you know, just that way they can't reply all. It just makes it a lot less problematic in the long run. So.
Gotcha. The other issue, if I can, is got an email back from Amanda saying that she's got some, but not all. So I know you had updated your email address. She updated hers. I'll push out to you all the updated contact information for everybody so that we're not pulling from old lists, because I had Bob's wrong in the beginning. So I'll push out to you all so that it's clear, but yeah, we just need to be sensitive.
It's just the easiest way to avoid it is just to put the members of the committee as the BCs as opposed to being either copied or the recipients. And that way, you know, you're making sure that nobody can reply all to you. I mean, you could certainly not do it that way. It's just a very natural inclination in today's world to do reply alls. And that's when we get into footfalls. But you have every right to push information out as long as you don't have an email communication back and forth.
No oral communication.
No oral communication either, just about things you're talking about here. Now, certainly you're going to have a conversation about how you use the website. That's fine. Don't go into the substance. All of those types of conversations about, hey, how do I get on and find this information on the computer? That's not something that's coming in front of you, but the substantive discussions are the things that come before you.
So Brandon, you're going to give us, if you could just give us a nice list of everybody's emails again and everyone that's involved in this process, just so we have it all and
absolutely
updated. Okay. Anything else?
I just wanted to comment. I looked back at the creation of the committee. And board approves the creation of the DOGE Liaison Committee to act an advisory role to the county and board in its participation with the EOG DOGE team. So I think if there are things that we see that the EOG committee doesn't get, I think we have the ability to make recommendations to the county that we include that.
Yeah.
So it's not just on how to reply to them.
That's fine.
Agree, disagree?
No, again, I wasn't trying to dissuade any conversation or answering questions, just
I
making
understand.
sure that it's perfectly fine to gather information, but it was just, staff's interpretation is that you're working alongside us to reply to the state. And if there's anything beyond replying to the state and advising the board in that reply to the state, it would need the board to give us further direction on doing that.
I disagree with that because that's to act in an advisory role to the board and county administrator in its participation with the EOG DOGE team. So I read that to say we have the ability to recommend to the board and to the DOGE team other issues that need to be reviewed if they miss something.
Sure, but if there's a desire for this team to begin auditing, that will require the board to put in terms
Yeah, I
of
think
making
that's-
recommendations.
I think that's where the
No, that
trick
makes
is. It's
perfect-
more of an auditing function
Correct.
and you've gone into past the point of just review, and that's what I hear you saying.
Agree. And you're correct, Ms. Curry. Yes, you can tell the board whatever you wish. That's perfectly fine. But if you're starting to desire to go to do audit, that would require some board permission to do so.
Yeah.
That's all.
further in and everything. I mean, from my conversations with their CFO, he said it's a local effort. But from my feeling, they feel they're doing their thing, and we're here from right now. I don't know. You saw how we all came in, during the days that they were here for the on-site audit. They basically were like, "Hi, nice to meet you. Shake your hand. Get out of our room."
Yeah, that's why I'd love to, I think they're following.
That's what's going to be. That's why.
Yeah. So
I think they're in a hurry to follow audit procedures. I'd love to be able to get a copy of that, but why don't you and I talk offline on that?
You got to be careful about specific.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But what I'm hearing is that
This role.
if we have an opportunity to get, obviously whatever report comes out, you will receive, like that is
Yeah.
a given. If there's an opportunity to obtain from the state what their audit procedures are, I mean, whether or not they decide to give those over or not, that's certainly something that you have the right to ask for them from the state. It's just a question of whether or not they have documents that are formalized into how they're doing their auditing process.
We thought they've done it before.
Mhm.
So it's great to talk to the guy who's done it before and then you can add to or, whatever.
And you have the right to call any of the state folks independently and have those conversations. That's not problematic. Whether or not they'll return your calls, it's another conversation.
Yeah,
they've mostly, I said at the beginning of the meeting, they've just been, let me talk that over with this person. Let me talk that over with this person. Oh, I still don't have anything. It's kind of been the general.
and they may not want to share, which is also fine.
Yeah.
But it would just never hurts to ask.
But I don't, I think I've made it clear enough. I don't intend to come in here for fun and spin my wheels. I'd like to do something. If we're going to spend the time to do this, I'd like to do something and not just, receive information from the state so we can be the ones that then hand it over,
Just a point of process, Jake,
Yeah.
maybe it's too early to kind of assign some things from this list and Tom put something together along this.
I think you're welcome to look through all this.
Maybe we ought to spend another one and churn through and because I have a smaller subset list of here, but that scratch
Yeah.
paper you saw.
Well, now that I've gotten some information on some of these things, I can go and remove half of them and say,
Right.
okay, and like anything that's a nonprofit and all that stuff, like we can throw that in another pile. We know that that's how it's going to be. So I think that we can narrow down. I got a lot of information today, so I appreciate it, Tom, and everybody else.
Helpful.
That it was helpful to get some of the understand how things work before I criticize them and try to.
Mr. Chairman, I misspoke. There is not a meeting on the 8th. I apologize. So if it's better for Wednesday for you all, we can accommodate that.
Everyone's good on the 6th, though, right?
Monday's good.
With the 8th, well, yeah, no, all right, I'll go with the 6th.
All right. So let's just do the 6th. Don't need a motion or anything, right? Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, meeting closed. Thank you, everybody. think that was worthwhile, actually.
No, Debbie, we're gonna time off the.
It's actually very.
Can I
Cliff?
log into this meeting?
Nice to meet you. I don't think we've ever met before.
Talked before, I haven't. The person. It's dark in the.
Yeah, you know, I think that by the time.
Yeah, this is just our training for them to use the website, so I'm comfortable with that.
I'm hopeful.
They'll walk through.
Yeah, that is operating. They don't just.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Okay.
As opposed to.
They're treating us differently.
As opposed to others that are being. more difficult.
Well, nobody's resigned. That's